Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday night chat. I'm Kelly Wilkins, your host, and this is the My Self Reliance and Food Storage channel. So good to have you here. Tonight, we have a special guest with us, Izabella Flora from Pure Heart Alchemy, and I've invited her on tonight because we got talking last week about health. My husband's had the flu for a few days, and when Isabella gets talking about remedies for, illness and how to take care of your health, I went, hold up one second. Everybody needs to hear about this. And so I fast tracked Isabella on so that she could be here with us tonight and share with you all these really important remedies around winter, around gut health. And so the other exciting thing about having Isabella on tonight is that we are going to her beautiful property on Saturday for a permaculture event. So if anyone has booked in for that, it's a one-day permaculture with David Holberton, and we still have seats available. So newsflash, it's $160 a ticket, but we are offering the second person, if you want to bring a friend, for $50. So Emma and Andrew, if you're coming along, you can offer that second ticket and go halves with them and halve your cost and bring a friend for $50. And so that's really good value. So it's 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. Meals included, drinks, we're going to look after you, and it's a collaborative permaculture design event. So you don't have to have been to a permaculture workshop before, but if you have, that helps, because we're all going to collaborate on this, on a design feature at Isabella's property. So I'm going to introduce Isabella now. She has over 30 years experience in health, and with her husband Adrian, they've created a beautiful company called Pure Heart Alchemy, which has the most gorgeous pure essence oils for ceremony, for all kinds of healing. And I want to pass it over to you now, Isabella, to introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us about Pure Heart, first of all.
Thank you, lovely. Thank you for inviting me on this. I'm excited to be sharing. Hi, everybody. Should I share screen now or just have a chat and then come and share?
Oh, yeah, you can introduce, share, because I know you've got some beautiful pictures of yourself and Adrian.
All right, I'll go this way first. All right, so you can see that?
Yes, that's gorgeous.
So that's us, that's Adrian and myself. So yeah, I feel like I'll come from present day and move backwards. Basically, Adrian and I have created Pure Heart Alchemy, which is, Adrian started about 20 years ago. He's a flower man. He's grew up in a rose garden. He has a history of his family around flowers. He got bloodline from Tahiti, and that's considered the flower island. That's where the tiare flower was actually found by the French, and where they actually started a lot of their French perfumes using the tiare flower. So that hence French Polynesia, because the French moved in because they were such a beautiful culture. And so full of beautiful flowers, which is where we've been. So this second photograph here actually is Adrian and myself coming down the mountain in Morea, and we found this beautiful coconut orchid, which I've got in my hand, and I literally slid down the mountain with this beautiful flower in our hand, and we created a flower essence at the bottom in their ceremonial moray, which is their ceremonial stone circles that they would create. And so, yes, I've been on board with Adrain for about 9 years now, and I've come from an artistic background, so graphic design, murals, basically just love the visual area of creativity. And when I came across Adrain, he was very connected to plants. And so, but very much the flower essence of plants. And I saw this as an incredible opportunity because what he had was really a hobby, but I saw the potential was incredible. So I brought all my visual expertise to this, and have now brought it into what feels like a internationally recognized brand. And so, yeah, the website and the labels and the logo and all this sort of stuff, this is part of what I've created. But he's also fostered in me a love of plants, so flowers and also the healing aspect of plants. But as you can see, he is in love with flowers. Like everywhere we go, we photograph flowers, we smell flowers, we pick flowers, we learn about flowers. And they're a really powerful aspect of the plant because they're the aspect of the flowering body that is the recreation of the plant. So it obviously draws in the bees and the pollinators to come and be attracted to these beautiful colors and shapes. And that just draws in the opportunity for reproduction. And so Adrain, this is taken up in Byron Bay, loves the teacher plants too. These are plants that have been used for centuries all across the world to help people open up their expansion of consciousness. And so we tend to work with species plants generally. So none of these hybrids. So you get the purity of the flower essence of everything in nature has got this beautiful fractal geometry. And so the purer that you keep these breeds, the stronger the message from the flowers. And so we're a bit obsessed with pure flowers. And we use these essences in, as you're saying, rituals and ceremonies. So I'll talk a little bit more about what's in them in a bit. So, but yeah, I'm obsessed with mandalas and the beauty of flowers. It's really about, you were asking at the very beginning, what a great question about what health is. And to me, it's vitality, it's color, it's energy, and all of that is captured in flowers. Like they draw us in, to have us relate to nature in such a beautiful way, see nature's beauty and stop that idea of stopping and smelling the flowers. I've got a great story about Adrian's daughter who came across, we were walking through a garden once, and, you know, she's entering teenagerhood and everything's boring as far as teens are concerned with their parents. And we showed her to her this beautiful flower and said, you know, smell the flower. And she just, yeah, okay, anyway. And we said, no, stop and slow down and really allow yourself to smell the beauty of this flower. And she stopped and she came back. And we literally saw her whole energetic change, because the vibration, the scent, the beauty, the relationship between her and nature in that moment, something changed. And you could see that that really take effect on this beautiful little girl. And so that's part of what we do. So we create essences and mists where we blend flowers and frequency together to create this portal which allows people to stop and literally smell the flowers, but this time from a bottle. So this is some of what we do. This is an internal essence which has got roses inside. And so they talk about flower essences. What you're doing is you're capturing the energetic of the flower. So if you think about, if you've come across Emoto's work, the Japanese researcher, and he was talking about how water carries energy and memory, and one drop informs the whole. And so what you're doing with flower essences, you're capturing the energetic frequency of the flower, which then works with our energetic frequency of our own bodies. So when you spray an essence or take an essence internally into your body, you're really affecting your health from an energetic place. So in spiritual studies, they talk about we start from the idea or the energy stage, and we move more into a denser realm, which is our pattern of thought, and then a denser realm again, which is our emotional body, and then a denser realm again, which is our physical body. And so if we have a lot of negative thoughts, that can then become negative emotions, and that can then enter into the physical realm. And so if you can catch these blocks in the energetic realm, then you can stop it from continuing on to the mental, into the emotional, into the physical. You can prevent illnesses and dis-ease from occurring by meeting it at the core, which is in the energetic realm, which is what the flowers do, the flower essences. So then this one here has got a lot of tree roots in it, and so I've photographed it here. I love photography with a lot of the leaves of different trees, and so trees can really stabilize us. So we also work with tree essences, and then this is another product again, which is more of a splash on, which has come from an ancient Peruvian shamanic practice where they actually pour alcohol onto your hands, sweet smelling alcohol, to do some of their ceremonies. So this is some of what we do. I just realized I've got to flip to my other form. Do I need to stop share here and come back to a different type of screen share? Is that right, Kelly?
If that's easy for you to do that, yeah, just stop share and then you can find it again.
Let me just stop share. Sorry about this, guys. Bear with me.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely gorgeous what you're sharing with us. Is everyone else feeling like this is so much bigger than what you anticipated tonight, and how gorgeous it is? So, yeah.
Okay. So This one's my part 2.
Oops.
So apologies that this is so unprofessional in it's very makeshift. So yes, just to continue, so we have a love affair with flowers, and for me that really, I've always loved nature, but in particular meeting Adrian, just coming into the beauty of what flowers are, what they offer, and how diverse they are. This flower here is actually a cacao flower, so from the cacao plant. And this flower, along with a lot of orchids, they have such an amazing character. I mean, we think about animals as having character, but we don't often think of plants as having character. But as you slow down and start to connect with plants, there is an ability to connect with them as beings and connect with their spirit. And nature, often there's a lot of now science and a lot of alternative thinkers that are talking about how nature has this idea of the doctrine of signatures, which is the shape of plants is like the expression of its character of what it can then do in your body as you ingest it, as you drink it as a tea, as you smell it. And so it's been a really beautiful experience for me to get closer to nature and start to investigate myself this different energetic of the plants. And this is actually one of my favorite flowers, which is from a cactus. And we have these tall cactuses, and this photograph is my own, where we had 27 cactus flowers coming from this cactus in one time. And the scent is incredible, and the amount of bees that we attract in our garden with all these flowers is really, really beautiful too, which is a passion of mine. I think I'd love to have a beehive at some point soon. So yeah, I think I talked a little bit about this idea of flower essences, but this is what we're doing is we're capturing the vibration of the flower in the water, and then the water you can actually spray or take in to help shift your frequency. And so this is part of what we do. Is our focus is to help people shift their frequency, raise their vibration, which is an element of health. And we do this in ceremony as well. So you can see me here on the left spraying in a ceremony. And so that's part of what brings us, what we're missing, I guess, in today's society is ritual. We're so busy now, and we're so caught up with achievements and getting things done, and we've forgotten how meaningful and powerful it is to come back into ceremony with others, whether it's for the big things like, you know, weddings and deaths and births, and these are big ceremonies, but even the ancients would have ceremonies as we passed into different seasons, which is what I'll talk about with the health in a moment. So we participate. It's just saying there's someone entering the waiting room. Will you handle that? Yeah, you've got that. Yeah, having ritual is very important because it tells you that we're moving from one time of life to another, or from one season to another. And in today's life, we tend to just blur ourselves between one week to the next, one day to the next. And so having these anchor points where we can actually stop and connect with Mother Earth, and connect with each other, and connect with ourselves and our hearts is crucial for our health, which is what we're talking about today. So part of what we do is we work in rituals, and we offer rituals to help people to connect in and slow down. And that's part of the journey with plants. One of our teachers, Steve Harold Buhner, actually talks about the importance of slowing ourselves down so that we connect in with our heartbeat, and that is the frequency and the pace at which plants live at. And so by slowing down, we start to connect with nature, we start to connect with the plants, and we start to heal. So we have a lot of creations that we've got 22 myths. They're based on the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. And so this is us here. So just wanted to share what we're all about. So I'm going to flip now into talking about what Kelly and I have been talking about recently, which is when I was about 20 years of age, 21, my brother came down with cancer, and 8 months later he died, which was obviously horrendous for my whole family. And it started me on the world of getting into health, because he died of cancer, and I obviously deeply reflected on that. What's that about? Why? And I found myself entering the realm of yoga, but a particular one, which is Japanese yoga. And in the Japanese yoga, they base a lot of their teachings on the Chinese 5-element system. And I now live this. I lived this for the last 25, 30 years, which is what Kelly and I were talking a little bit about recently. And their way of seeing things is that we don't even have four seasons. We actually have 5. And so each season is generally about 3 months long, which is what we know in Western perception. But summer elements is split into 2. There's summer, which is 6 weeks, and then high summer, which is another 6-week period. And how they see the world is that as we are part of Mother Earth, so we are nature. And as we move from one season into a next, there needs to be a shift. You can't just sort of flip from one highway to another, if you like, or one season to another. There's this shifting period. And the 5-element system looks that in between these periods, there's about a 10 days to 2 weeks where we shift and the earth kind of shifts phase into the next season. And this period is actually in a macrobiotic 5-element system. They teach that this is the time most people get sick. And so what happens is that our body, because we're part of nature, we align with nature in this period of shifting and detoxing. Only most of us have never been taught this. We just move straight into from one season to the next and just put on a wool jacket or whatever it is. But what's happening is our bodies are shifting, our organs are shifting, our meridians are shifting into a different focus. And if you see here on the screen, we've got the 5 elements. And so we're moving from the lung time, which is metal, which is the lungs and large intestine, which is the time of autumn or fall in America. And now we're moving round into winter, which is the water element, which is the time of kidney bladder. So each of these seasons are dominated by a meridian, 2 meridians and 2 organs. And so they have a flavor, and each of these have an opportunity at that time to heal this organ and this meridian system. So right now we're entering into, or have entered into, winter, which is kidney bladder. And if you see on this chart here, there's elements and characteristics, which winter is accepting and forgiving, and it's fear and generosity. And so a way that you can tell whether you're actually in a strength and a healthy aspect of your kidney bladder is that you are feeling generous. Whereas if you're actually in a negative place where you're weak in that realm, you will feel more fear. So it's a really good measure to get to know what are the actual emotional aspects of these elements, and tune into how you're feeling, because that can tell you where you're at. And as I was saying, it's actually the time when you can heal this aspect. Like, I know I've got kidney issues, so now for the next 3 months, this is a beautiful time to eat in line with the winter element, with the foods and the characteristics of what to do in this time with exercise and all sorts of stuff. And that will help me heal my kidney, bladder, organs and meridian. And so next then we will go back into spring, which is characterized, it's liver, gallbladder organs. And it's about beginning and envisioning, and the emotions are anger or having faith, and it's considered the wood element. And the way also to look at it is this is a time where things spring up. So even looking at the types of foods you might eat, wood is usually, and wood element, spring element is when everything's sprouting. So it's all the sort of young greens. That's what we should be eating in the springtime. And we're cleansing the liver with these bitter greens. Whereas in the summer, you're eating salads and sort of much broader vegetables, above ground vegetables. Fruits are coming into play. And then when you move into earth season, which is this late part of summer, this is where the full fruits are. This is the harvest. This is where we consider the trees are hanging heavy with fruits. And so we're feeling very bountiful, and it's beautiful to go into this sort of beautiful eating of fruits and light food. But then as we move into the metal element, the trees are falling down, the leaves are falling down off the trees. They're wet, they're fermenting on the ground. And so as a cooking style, because there's cooking styles with all of this time, that's sort of a time to be eating wet foods, fermented foods that are cooked with a lot of water. Whereas we come around into winter and it's still sort of slow cooking stews, but there's baking going on. So there's actually a cooking element. It's eating seasonally with the foods that are actually available seasonally, which is much healthier for our bodies and aligned with organic foods. And then doing aspects of your exercise and your self-care that are aligned with those. And so winter's more about coming in and taking care of yourself. which I'll talk about again in a minute. So I did an email to our group, and I talked about this simple thing that I swear has saved me through so many winters and change of season. And what was described to me about 25 years ago in a macrobiotic course I did was that if you think about as a child, we learn to make glue out of flour and water. Children will make glue. But we add yeast, and then what do we have? We have bread. But the aspect of this glue element of flour and water is still there. And so when you eat a lot of very floury foods, you're gluing up the gut. And when we have this change of season time, which is this 2-week time where the body's shifting from, as we just have now, from autumn into winter, the body wants to detox at that time through the bowel, through the gut. And we eat cheese and bread and we glue up the gut. So instead of detoxing out through the bowel, the body is very smart, and the body goes, well, if I can't detox through the bowel, I've got to detox somewhere else. So what am I going to do? I'm going to detox up through the lungs. And then we call that a cold. But what's happening is your body's actually taking out the toxins, packaging them up with lots of phlegm so they're safe and they don't burn the body. And then they're taking them up through the lungs, which we call a cold, which, it's very political having a cold these days. But that's actually what the TCM version of things is that a cold and a flu is a way for the body to get rid of toxins. And so by avoiding flours and cheeses in this kind of 2-week period where the body's shifting gear into the next season, I've personally have avoided a lot of colds because my body's naturally detoxing other ways. So as I've refined over the years, I eat very little flours now, and I tend to take my grains in as I love wild rice and rices and quinoa and these kind of grains. And occasionally I'll eat bread, but it's usually gluten-free. It's not during that time of year when we're detoxing. And it's gluten-free flours. They're rye or spelts or buckwheat, this kind of thing. So I thought I would just show you a little bit about the water element. So water element, which is winter, is all about looking under the surface of the water. So it's really looking deeper into the body. So that's what we're in right now, this 3-month period. And it's about replenishment and nourishment of your nerves. As I said, it's the kidney, bladder, meridians and kidneys and bladder organs, about dissolving fear, having generosity, acceptance and forgiveness. It's the yang element, which is warming and focusing on black toned foods. So each element's got a color, and the water element is black. So if you think of that in foods, you'll see a lot of these foods have a darkness and a blackness to them. So these are the foods that we should be eating in winter to support the kidney and the bladder. So seaweeds are fantastic. I mean, seaweeds are black and they're very salty. That's another aspect of this element, is salt. So arami, dulse, Irish moss, kelp, if you can get it. A lot of the kelp farms have been wiped out by tornadoes a few years ago. Hijiki, nori, wakame, kombu, spirulina. Seeds and nuts would be black tahini, black sesame seeds, black seed oil, chestnuts and walnuts. Legumes are adzuki beans, black beans and black lentils. Grains, barley, buckwheat, black rice, wild rice, which is one of my favorites. Quinoa, amaranth, millet, rye or rye bread. Fruit, they focus on goji berries, mulberries, grapes, apples and pomelo. Veggies, a lot of the root vegetables. So if you think about winter, the plants are actually going down and they're not growing a lot in the upper regions. They're actually focusing on their roots. And so this is a great time to be eating root vegetables. So it's really simple logic. The Chinese system has been around for 5,000 years. and they've mastered what's going on in nature. So you're looking at copying nature, and nature is focusing on its roots. It's building the ground and its nervous system in the plants. And so this is what we should be looking on in our bodies. And even when you pull out, for example, like a spring onion or a leek, all the root system that we pull out. Sometimes you get your vegetables and there are root systems still on the plant. They are very good for your nervous system. So unless they're covered in dirt, I basically keep them and I chop them up and I put them with the body of the plant into my stir fries or into my soups, because they are looking after the nervous system and the body. Again, it's that doctrine of signatures. As something looks, so it's good for you, which I don't know if any of you come across doctrine of signatures, but the idea that a walnut looks like a brain, and science has now proven it's good brain food. And an avocado has sort of the shape of a pregnant woman, and avocados are known to be very good for women. What have you got there? I just saw some vegetables being held up to the screen. Anyway.
Colours of the season.
There you go, black, beautiful eggplant, yes? Amazing.
Dark orange. Persimmon.
Oh, fine. I love persimmon. And chilies. Amazing.
And then,
I've just learned how to make really good baba ganoush by a friend of mine, so eggplant is great. What are they?
there you go. It's beef jerky.
Oh, amazing. More black.
Dark, yeah, you said black, so.
All right, so we've also got here the root vegetables, as I said, then meats, bone broth, lamb, beef, venison. That's all sort of the meats of the winter season. The teas are black, like black tea, chicory. I would put dandelion in there as well, actually, horsetail, burdock root, and then your beautiful mushrooms, reishi, cordyceps, schizandra berry. Salty foods in general. So this season is about contraction and building yourself through salt, because the salt helps draw the energy inwards. So having miso, soy sauce, amaboshi plum and amaboshi plum vinegar, sea salt, herbs, astragalus, goji, turmeric, bay leaf, black pepper, ginger in there as well. And then spices, warming spices. So cloves, fenugreek, fennel, star anise, black pepper, ginger, cinnamon, chai tea, which has a lovely combination of these, onions and garlic. And as I said before, the cooking style is all about hearty warm soups, long cooked, I don't know what that means there, but anyway, long cooked soups and stews and warming teas. And another thing that again was reminded to me recently, I'm seeing some people who are doing Chinese herbs at the moment. And in Western concept, we don't think about the temperature of our drinks. But as was reminded me the other day, is that the Asians generally drink warm water, especially in winter and autumn through the day, because it takes you energy to take a room temperature, a cold drink. It takes you energy to actually heat that up in your body. So if your water is already warm, you might start with lemon in your warm water in the morning. But even through the day, which we talked about, someone who was going to come on this call, I realize he's not here this evening because he's on another call, but he drinks warm water all day. And I'm just reminded this is a great thing to do in autumn, winter, is to stop the body from spending energy where you don't need to, and just warm the water so that you don't have to waste that energy. So limiting cold, raw foods, drinks, and cold and cooling herbs, and focusing on the warming. And you'll notice the more that you bring warm into your body, and even go out and do like I'm doing sand shuffle jogs in the morning before I jump into the ocean on 7-degree mornings, once that heat is in the body, then the body can handle the cold. And you can see that part of the aging process is lack of circulation. So if you can get the body moving through the foods, through the movement, you're not going to need to pull on so many layers of clothes. and you're not wasting money. Shaking from cold is wasting energy. And so the Asian mentality is conserve energy wherever you can. So if you can just choose your foods very smart each season, you're not wasting energy, you're building your organs, which prevents you from getting sick. So I love this. Stephen Harabuna is one of my great teachers. And he says, when I find that I have the kind of response to eradicate a plant, I usually find that it's one that I need, that's trying to get my attention. David Wolfe used to say, another teacher of mine, any poison that's in the world, the remedy is within a meter of the poison. And I've actually seen this again and again in my life. So an example that I have intuited is the kudzu plant. So the kudzu plant is currently taking over parts of South America, and I found some photos, but I only included one here, where they're literally taking over tractors, houses, like it is taking over America. And the question is why? And there's all sorts of reasons why, but I try and open my mind to different ways of considering things. And when we consider this previous thought that a plant grows in plentiful supply for our needs, well, then what's the need of this plant? And in macrobiotic terms, this plant has saved me so many times. It's a beautiful plant for the gut. So it helps if you've overeaten, if you've got constipation or diarrhea, you can make it kind of different ways to adapt to either situation. My beloved gets pain in his gut if he has too much cheese, like he can't really eat cheese because of his Tahitian background. And so anytime you've got anything poisonous in your body or congesting you too much, you can create this drink out of kudzu, and it basically cures the gut. And my logic goes, well, if it's taking over a country, what's going on over there? They need this plant. And if you think about it, there's a lot of flour in the US diet, cheese, there's a lot of congesting foods. And so what's the remedy? Earth is giving us the remedy with this beautiful plant. So this is how it looks when we get it in our health food store. It now comes as they've even refined it more to a powder, but I prefer it in this form when it's slightly rocky. And if you go to the shop and you buy this little packet from an Asian grocer or a health food shop, you dissolve half to a teaspoon in room temperature water, and then you put it on the stove. You have to dissolve it in room temperature water, not hot water, it won't dissolve. Put it on the stove and just sit with it and stir it, and it'll go from a thin, milky liquid into a clear, thick consistency because it's considered like a thickening agent. And that gelatinousness, if that's a word, the gelatinous aspect of this helps clear the gut. So you can add one of my other favorites, which I've got here. You can add some amaboshi plum to it and a dash of tamari, and it makes a really grounding, yang, contractive drink, which alkalines the stomach, contracts. Like you can even, this amaboshi here that I'm showing, that's a beautiful thing to take a plum or a bit of paste if you've eaten too much, or you've got any indigestion. It's a beautiful medicine, again, to help contract the stomach. Like I've had stomach pains from eating fruit after a meal, which is a major no-no in my book, and then had amaboshi and I can eat something else 5 minutes later because it just works so beautifully well. So those are some of my macro kind of perspectives. And then there's the Western. Like I've also studied with Don Tolman, and he talks about eating for your chakras. So you eat for the colors. So his son actually spent a year eating red foods and a year eating orange foods and had to stop on the third year because his life was too crazy, what he was experiencing going into Gold Foods. But this idea that we eat for our chakras to awaken our body, it's color therapy through food. And food comes in so many different colors, so beautiful. So keeping ourselves well in winter, another way, to me, one of my favorites is fire ciders and fire tonics. So it's an age-old grandma's recipe kind of thing. I make my own. You can buy, they're now popular now. You can buy them all around. But basically it's great to have a mother brew going and you just keep adding to it. And so you can look online. Dr. Google will tell you lots of different recipes online, but I tend to base mine on those and then intuitively add my own. But I tend to buy like a big 4-liter bottle of apple cider vinegar and maybe do a 2-liter bottle. And I just put in all my ingredients first and I pour the apple cider over the top. But it's basically just all of the foods that grow in winter season. So I might start it now and I'll keep it going and I end up sitting it for a year and then I'll be taking it from it now, but also next year it's even stronger. So I can't even remember all the ingredients I've got in mind, but basically without a recipe, I'm just throwing in garlic, turmeric, ginger, lemon. I'll even do the zest of the lemon, and limes or grapefruits, even dried lemons and oranges you can put in, chilies, cayenne pepper, burdock root, horseradish. You can also bring in adaptogenic herbs. So you could put in dried burdock root or licorice root or ashwagandha or astragalus, reishi. There's so many different adaptogens that you could also bring into this. Onion. So they've got a regular onion here. You could do white and brown onion. Yes, that's a massive, amazing tonic. And I just sit mine there literally in my 2 liters and I can use that anytime I've got a cold or it's coming on. I'll take a teaspoon. I can put it in a hot drink. I can put it in my cooking. People actually make cocktails out of these. I don't drink alcohols, but that's another way you could go as well. So that's a really powerful thing to have in your medicine cabinet and literally can feed off it year in, year out. You can have that and just keep adding to it. It'll just get stronger and stronger. A mini version of this is the garlic drink. So my mother went to see Dorothy Hall, who was a famous naturopath back in the 70s, and she did a garlic drink. And every time a cold was coming on and you just felt a bit run down, or once it had taken hold, she would have this 3 times a day and would just help push you through it really quickly. And so basically, it's, as you can see, it's a garlic crushed with fresh ginger, all fresh ingredients if you can. So garlic, ginger, I usually simmer that on the stove for a little bit and then put it in my cup, and then the juice of half a lemon, as much cayenne as you can bear, and then honey to taste. And then how I would remember what these 5 ingredients are when I was actually making these is the garlic is boosting the immune system and killing off the lurgies. The ginger is warming my body. The lemon is my vitamin C. The cayenne is clearing the congestion. And then the honey is soothing the throat, but also flavoring it to taste. And then I forgot to put in one slide. We've actually got the more instant version of the garlic drink is I've got as part of our brand, we've got immunity. And immunity is 13 adaptogenic herbs soaked in alcohol for 4 to 6 weeks and then bottled. And I find that if I've ever got that tiggle in my throat, I put it straight on my throat and it's gone in 10 seconds. So that's the even more instant version of a fire tonic or a garlic drink. And generally I flood my body with herbs. So again, I love photography. This is one of my shots. when I just did a really simple tomato soup one day, beef broth and tomatoes and onions, and heaps of herbs. So herbs are the highest frequency food. And so if you don't have even, you know, a lot of opportunity for getting organic foods and that kind of thing, you can grow your own herbs, which have got really high frequency, really high flavor input. And so I feel like that's one of the most powerful inclusions in your diet to change the flavor all sorts of different directions, but also just to give you this massive high frequency hit to raise your frequency, because there's many studies now that health is a low frequency vibration of your body. And so the higher frequency your body, the more you're going to fend off things. And these bacterias and fungus and viruses that come in, they're cleanup crew. We've kind of learnt to decipher this as they're attacking us, we need to kill them, the whole germ theory idea. But if you go back into the study of when this was all being created, there was Louis Pasteur who was sharing germ theory, but then there was Beauchamp, and Beauchamp was at the same time advocating terrain theory, which is that it's your body that matters, not the germ. And so if your environment of your body is well, then the germs won't come into your body to break you down or be the cleanup crew for the things that are going wrong in your body. So you won't attract them. So the higher frequency your body through such things as herbs and good quality water and sunshine and having a great positive attitude in life too, just having fun, that's high frequency, then you're less likely to attract this into your life. So flowers, again, I'm finishing on this one here until maybe we explore with more questions, but the doctrine of signatures of flowers, this is an echinacea. And if we come back to the flower essence aspect, where we're fending things off at the vibrational state, you can come from that angle, and then you can also bring in the physical aspect of the plant. So echinacea you can take in as a tincture and a tea. But if you look at this signature, it's like it's fending off with these little spikes, if you like, in the petals. It's fending things off. It's got this energy of defense. And this is what we know echinacea to be. So whether you're coming at foods from the food aspect or you're coming from the flower essence, the other end of the realm, it's all working to raise your health and make you, just a happier, more vital human being. So, that's kind of where my presentation ends. I spent the last afternoon coming up with some photos to share with you all, but I'm happy to just go with having a chat and some question and answers if you want.
Oh, that was beautiful. I've just written so many notes. I'm sure everyone in the chat room is just absolutely loving what we've just heard. And yeah, thank you so much, Izabella. I'll go to the questions in the chat first of all. Emma and Andrew asked about what herbs that you can grow at home that have a high frequency.
Any of them, they're all high. So I would go. I mean, I feel with all the stuff that I've learned about plants, go with the ones that you love. Stephen Harold Buhner, who's also this other element of connecting yourself to plants, go where your heart sings. That's like so. Sort of two parts to this question for me. One is go with what you love. Go with the flavors that you love. Go with the smell that you love. Like that's such a huge aspect in food. But the other element is that we've talked to different people who have asked the question, what's the when I come into this realm of wanting to communicate with plants, what's the plant that I should be connecting to? And it's the one that sings to you. So for some people, like for me, it was, again, I forgot in my presentation, the Queen of the Night flower is my favorite plant. And it looks a bit like that cactus flower I showed you. It's white, it's huge, it's got the most insane scent. But someone else I heard, what's their connector plant? And it was parsley. And it's like whatever plant is that you have this massive affinity with, that's the plant that's going to get you connected into the world of plants, because it's the one that you align with. So any herb that you're jumping into could be an affinity plant for you. That's a gateway plant to enter you into this realm as well. But yeah, go with, like, my favorites are basil is right up the top of my list, and coriander, dill, tarragon, sage. What else have I got? Parsley, if I didn't already say that. Chives. I just have a plethora of herbs in the garden.
Because if it makes you happy, that's what's bringing you into the highest frequency, and that's what counts, isn't it? So we reflect that with each other with the plants. They're bringing you, raising your frequency, and and it's generating that energy. So yeah, beautiful.
And I might just add another step to that. If you start with herbs, for me, and the next step, because Adrian's been into so many of these beautiful plants, is the medicine plants, which are high in medicine and antioxidants and specialty directions in their, their healing action, is to go with herbs that you can put in your teas. So like in the morning, I used to have, I don't really drink mate anymore, but I used to have green mate, and I would make that from my cabinet, but then I'd go out into my garden and I'd grab goticola and brahmi and ginkgo. That's a big tree, but you can have it potted, and mint. And so I bring life force to my tea that's sitting in my cabinet. So it's every morning I'm going out to my garden, I'm connecting with my plants, but I'm also bringing that life force into my tea with a high nutritional profile. And it's not a large garden that I have to have, because I can literally grow those in little pots.
Beautiful. Those that are coming on permaculture weekend, I can't wait to come to your place and see how your pots and the plants and the flowers and smell of those beautiful smells. We are going to be so blessed. Is there any other questions that anyone wants to throw out? I think I can't wait. I've written all those ingredients down for the fire tonic and for those bed foods, those dark foods for winter, which I would not have thought of. We go naturally to the broths and the soups and things for winter, but understanding how all that fits in together with the elements, that's amazing.
So I'm just reading one of the other questions here. I don't know. Yeah, the next one about the body cleansing during the transition from metal to water elements, and does this mean that we don't get a cold or flu virus?
Right. So during that transition time, how should we be cleansing, and how do we transition those foods and things?
So there's two aspects to this as well for me. One is I tend to I avoid, as I said, all the flour and the cheeses and the processed foods that will congest the gut, which means the body can detox through the bowel, which means there's no reason to give you a flu or a virus. However, it's not a guarantee. If you are extremely exhausted, tired, you've been pushing it too hard, winter is the time to slow down. We often don't listen to that. We've had a friend over for the last 5 weeks and we're up late at night chatting to him. You can still get this, or you've been bombarded with some toxins that you're not aware of. The body wants to detox however it can. And so I think attitude is everything. And I flip to, if I've ever got a cold, it's like I flip to a attitude B, which was when I was when I was about 24, I went to a naturopath, and his opinion was that if you never get a cold, it means you never detox. And his opinion was someone that never detoxes is more likely to attract the big C word in 20, 30 years' time than if they're yearly dumping out the trash, which is the cold and the flu. So I don't see cold and flus as bad things. It's uncomfortable for us to go through, but it's not a bad thing because you are actually detoxing the body. However, if I'm detoxing every day by having a very clean diet, I'm less likely to get a cold. But I don't want to stop a cold, because if you plug everything up, then you're pushing it back into the body. And now the body's going to go, well, the body's so smart. So it's like, well, what do I do with it? If I can't put out the trash, then I'm going to have to create a trash bin, which is a big C word. Pretty much, it's a very simple kind of terminology of seeing it, but I'm going to have to create a trash bin inside because I can't get it out. So this idea of the modern medicine with plugging us up, stopping the congestion here, stopping the diarrhea here, stopping the skin boils from coming out, pushing it all back in, that's when you're in a lot of trouble. So, but the garlic drink I was talking about, and having really clearing, watery foods in that time, is going to help your body detox faster. So your cold might last 3 days. I used to have 3-day colds instead of 3 weeks. Whereas other people are like, oh, I'm sick, I'm just going to eat comfort foods. Well, you're putting more toxins in and you're blocking it up. So yeah, you're going to be in bed for 3 weeks instead of 3 days.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm a big proponent on gut health and eating clean and clearing gut and less toxins and chemicals on the body, the better. And on the body too, right? Because we absorb through our skin as well. So
Totally.
I'm really excited to think about how to create those ceremonies.
Now here, we've got lime and a humongous garlic. Is that right, Jared?
Yeah. So gigantic elephant garlic.
Beautiful. Oh my God, you have got hands of the garden. Look at your nails.
Yes.
Soil nails.
Yes. And this is a beautiful Tahitian lime.
Oh, stunning.
Extra delicious, yeah.
Well, and while Jared's
not even sour. It's beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Jared's actually going to be on.
Just showing off, sorry.
Yeah, he's showing. It's okay. Beautiful. He's coming on as our guest speaker in 2 weeks' time, talking about
amazing
agroforestry and so food forests and he's another one from WA. We have a few people on from WA here tonight. So yeah, so we can't wait to hear from Jared in 2 weeks' time. So very excited about that. And yeah, so we're going to wrap up tonight. I'm so grateful for you coming on, Izabella. I know that I've learned a lot, and I'm very excited about how we can bring in ceremony and teaching our children the art of ceremony, so we can slow down, take those seasons in, embrace them rather than rushing through those seasons and then having to deal with it, having our body having to deal with the next season rather, and we can just take it as it comes and hopefully then enjoy all those ebbs and flows of life, the wellness and sometimes, I love what you say as well. When you are unwell, your body's trying to tell you something. Just slow it right down. I was saying to Izabella this afternoon that my hubby's been unwell for like 8 days, and he's lost about 10 kilos and he looks fabulous. But I don't want to get him well yet because he's got another 3 to go. So, just stay with it. So, all good. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, Izabella. You're an absolute wealth of knowledge, and we can't wait to come and see you on the weekend. If you are interested in all coming to our permaculture one-day event, this is the only one-day event we're doing in winter with David Holberton. in spring, we're going to go back to doing our full weekend events, and we're actually going to do a permaculture tour all throughout New South Wales, and I'll be taking applications for properties that would like to host that. But if you do want to jump in on this one-day event at the Pure Heart property in the Northern Beaches, you can go onto the website myselfreliance.com.au, register there, bring a friend for $50, and there's a few places left. So love to have you all on board. So thank you so much, and we will see you all again next week.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Izabella.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I was late to the party.
All good.